first-round East region. Winner gets Syracuse or Richmond. They play in the final game tonight in College Park. The NCAA championship from now to its conclusion on CBS. Starpin, yep.
One thing Purdue has done defensively is start to pick people up further out on the floor and contest the blocks to the Temple big people. But nobody's sticking around Vic Starpin.
Link Darnell, number 30. Chucky White. Quiet in the first half. Now has 4 points in the second.
You see why with the range that he has.
Oliver now 4 of 8 from three-point range. He's got 15 points. At the other end, it's Starpin again. 2 timeouts remaining. Purdue has 3. Neither team in foul trouble. Macon pulls it up, takes the shot, and hits it. 66-57. Mark Macon is fouled by Ian Stanback.
A little bit.
Donald Hodge, a 7-footer, in control of the ball now, guarded by Ian Stanback. Now they've got it in the hands of Starpin, who is fouled by Travis Trice.
Well, it almost.
Lead is back to 6. Earlier today in the West, Creighton knocked off New Mexico State, and the Temple Owls, the lower seed here in the East, are trying to do the same and edge the Purdue Boilermakers. The nice bounce goes in. The lead is 7. And he'll go all the way. Gene Cady knows it's over. Trice. Kilgore for Temple. 59 of 45 from the field tonight. 64%. An Owl unit that had been averaging 43% throughout the season. Starpin. And there's the exclamation point. Temple scores the final 12 points of the ball game to gather in a decisive victory. Can be. He's now 12 of 15 for the season.
No blink in those eyes either.
A 3-point Richmond lead. Owens for 3. No! Kicks it back to Autry. Foul. With just under 9 seconds remaining. 0.9 seconds to go. Timeout, Jim Boeheim and Syracuse. 3-point edge. Michael Edwards, Billy Owens, and Mike Hopkins, the 3-point shooters from the corner. No. Connolly tries to get it. On the line, Richmond ball. With 0.7 of a second left, the final foul of the night. That's 5 on 3 and on 3. You've just seen history. And the darlings of America from 3 years ago, the Richmond Spiders, rekindle their love affair.
48 on.
The Shack attack was back for LSU, but even he wasn't enough for the Tigers as they were bounced from the NCAA tournament. Thursday night at the Midwest Regional in Minneapolis, Shaquille O'Neal returned from a stress fracture to slam home 27, but LSU still lost to UConn 79-62 the final. Chris Smith countered the Shack with 25 of his own. The Huskies now await the winner of this game. In the other half of the bracket, both Duke and Iowa advanced. For the Blue Devils, no contest. For the Hawkeyes, it was a case of holding Keith Mr. Jennings to 11. Southern Miss picked the wrong time to suffer its worst loss of the season at College Park, Maryland in the East Regional. The Golden Eagles were ripped by North Carolina State, 114-85. Chris Corciani and Rodney Monroe got 25 apiece. Next up for the Wolfpack is Oklahoma State. Byron Houston got 21 points, 17 rebounds. 3 years ago, Richmond knocked Indiana out of the tournament. Thursday night, the Spiders did it to the second seed in the East, Syracuse. Final 73-69 as Curtis Blair got 18. Next up for Richmond is Temple as the Owls pulled off a minor upset of their own. To the Southeast Regional in Louisville, Florida State and Southern Cal in what would have been a great gridiron battle. But anyway, on the court, the Seminoles won it 75-72. Douglas Edwards got 24 points, 9 boards. FSU now gets Indiana. Bob Knight's team big over Coastal Carolina. Pittsburgh and Kansas both advanced to the second round. They'll meet up next. The Panthers needed overtime. As for the Jayhawks, not as close as the final. And at the West Regional in Salt Lake City, BYU's 7'6" freshman Sean Bradley swatted away a tournament record 10 shots to lead the Cougars ouster of Virginia 61-48. BYU now gets Arizona, the second seeds in the West, no trouble. Seton Hall ended Pepperdine's 16-game winning streak to advance to the second round, where it'll battle Creighton, which stunned New Mexico State. NBA.
Penn State.
Derek Martin has but 1 point.
Good defensive pressure by Martin.
Money Brown with Madkins all over him. Barnes.
Penn State has been patient offensively when they've had to be.
This is John Dietz. Just checked into the ball game. He likes to shoot, but doesn't get the roll. Owens grabs the board.
He got the open jump shot. The Penn State offense worked pretty much to perfection there, except they weren't able to convert. Dietz got the open jumper.
Derek Martin looking to his bench and getting instructions from Jim Herrick.
The pass.
Off Owens' hands, it'll belong to Penn State. A timeout on the court, and this one looks like it'll go right down to the final gun. Penn State trying to pull off one of the biggest upsets of the tournament to the moment. Freddie Barnes, Deggets, turn around, yes, over McLean.
Deggets now with 9 points. And remember, McLean's got the 4 personal fouls. That's an excellent place to attack UCLA because McLean has to be careful.
It's a position they dearly love to be in, leading late with another team perhaps forced to foul, though there are defense.
UCLA's got to look for the 3.
Martin takes the 2, but there's Butler to put it back in.
Now remember, no timeouts.
Press has not been effective for UCLA thus far. And Martin will foul Freddie Barnes, his 3rd. LA, such a good three-point shooting team, has only hit 2 out of 10 of those.
Now again, with this free throw, it'll put it back on 6, so UCLA would need 2 possessions to tie.
2 big free throws for Freddie Barnes. A 6-point lead for Penn State. 25 seconds on the clock. Martin's going to try to take another 2. Misses it, but the tip is up twice and finally in by Mitchell Butler.
They can have the 2s. They don't need the 2s at this point in the game.
Barnes is fouled, and he's another excellent free throw shooter.
And finally, you see the hint of a smile for Bruce Parkhill.
1965, the last time the Penn State Nittany Lions were in the NCAA regionals. They lost to Princeton in the first round, 60-58.
Not even have to take the ball in bounds again.
He's 6 out of 7 at the line. Now 7 of 8. Here come the Bruins. They trail by 5, nearly lose the ball. Martin from 3, no. Owens can't get the 2 down. Penn State with another rebound and the win. Will take note of this one as Penn State upsets UCLA. Back to position. Walker gets Jackson up, dumps it for Dowdell, and there's a rare Villanova bucket in this first half as it's 27-20. 2.5 minutes remaining in the first half.
Little 1-3-1 half-court pressure by Villanova, looking to trap the basketball. Princeton doing a great job passing the ball over, getting set up in their offense. Villanova back to the man-to-man.
Matt Henshaw.
It's one thing about Princeton. You set a trap or something, they're really not going to hurt you for a layup. They're going to beat it, but then back it back out so you have time to reset your defense.
Marquardt from 3.
2 very good defensive sequences in a row by Villanova. Raleigh Massimino would love to see his team convert again.
Lance Miller gets it up through traffic and home. And Villanova with a bit of a spark here in the late going of the first half.
Just about a third of the points for Georgia Tech.
JB, the ball really not moving the men as well as the ball against the zone. That's been their problem.
John Barry, Brian DeMalik, Kenny Anderson, Malcolm Mackey, and Matt Geiger, the 5 on the floor in white for Georgia Tech. This is DeMalik. Anderson with the rebound and score. Kenny Anderson, he averages just under 6 rebounds a game. He truly does it all.
That was a long rebound due to a tough shot. But right here now, you'll see positioning. You got to move it and move some people to complement the ball movement.
Davis. Big rebound. Howard gets it back and slams it. Stephen Howard has been trying to get involved in the offense, has to create it himself.
Occasionally to the point where he's gotten hands involved with Booth on some rebounds.
Our first team.
8:44 left in the ball game.
Inside to Bain. Outside to Woodard.
Nice penetration.
4 points for Greg Woodard, who averaged nearly 14 coming into this contest.
Got to take this game a possession at a time. Oh, nice cut by Miller, and there's a goaltending on Dowdell.
Counted for Kit Miller.
Little different wrinkle in the Princeton offense. That time the defender worried about the charge. Wasn't watching where he was shooting the ball. You got to be looking at the goal.
Well, they've had some good success recently running Woodard off picks. He's an excellent shooter, but he needs some room. They might be working some more for him.
It's obvious a place where Villanova would like to go. They run some time off the clock if they can get a screen for Woodard. He's had 2 baskets recently. Villanova's no stranger to using the clock.
Down within 10. Miller will put it up and hit it. Lance Miller, the 6-foot jumper. Villanova now a 3-point lead, 44-41. Excellent game from the opening tip.
Raleigh Massimino calls the offensive play and then sits down, confident that his young team can execute it. And Lance Miller's been executing on the offensive end the entire second half.
Wheels, dishes, scores.
Brennan with 4 personal fouls is just overmatched. Miller now with 15 points for Villanova.
2-point Nova lead, 46-44. Clock shows 2:35 to play. The winner gets top-ranked North Carolina on Sunday. Carolina a huge winner tonight over Northeastern, 101-66.
And these offensive possessions have been important the entire basketball game, but they are critical right now.
Miller will bank it and score it. And that's 5 on Mark Dowdell.
And Dowdell came to Villanova's comeback in the second half. And now Dowdell has to sit on the bench.
Miller with his 13th point. And a 1-point lead for Princeton. Here's Walker dumping it into Bain. Miller's on him. Walker misses from the 3. Marquardt pulls the board, and the foul will go against Bain. Princeton with 1:35 to play in regulation. The winner gets the Tar Heels on Sunday. Lance Miller puts it down. Bodies all over the court. 3 and 4 guys tumbling around. At the bottom was Matt Eastwick.
These are critical free throws.
And Miller hits the first one. Ivy League Player of the Year. But he misses the second, and the tie remains.
Last time down the court, the Villanova Wildcats spread the floor and let Lance Miller operate in the middle. They got 2.
Here's Bain. He spins, puts it up, rolls off. Rebound Princeton. Matt Henshaw grabs it.
There's about a 12-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. That's the game clock in the lower right-hand corner.
Princeton will hold the ball.
Princeton's running their regular offense.
This is Henshaw.
Calvin Bird matched up against Kit Miller. Miller's the key.
Miller without Dowdell to check him down low. They'll go to Miller. He'll spin, put it up and have it blocked. Calvin Bird with the biggest block of this game. And Villanova can take the last shot to win it.
Here we go.
Miller inbounds the ball. This is Lance Miller. Under 10 seconds.
With the floor spread out.
Now 5. Moving on Jackson. He'll take it, shoot it, score it. One-tenth of a second remains.
Takes it to about 6 feet from the basket, shoots it over Jackson. Princeton calling the timeout. They're going to put 1 second on the clock. Here's another look at it. Nothing more Jackson can do right there. He's right in his face. Lance Miller just converts the basket. A very happy group of Wildcats from Villanova. Raleigh Massimino, he drew it up. Very pleased with the result. He's looking around trying to see how much time is left on the clock. The officials have put 1 second on the clock.
Lance Miller hitting 7 out of 7 in the second half. After the Wildcats trailed at halftime, 30-25.
Princeton will throw the ball into the top of the key, opposite where you're trying to go. Somebody's just going to turn around and throw it.
The official's telling Raleigh to sit down, and in fact, he's being tugged by his assistant to the bench. This is Miller. He will inbound the ball. We got Jackson, Marquardt, and Brennan in a line. They try to draw the foul, don't get it, and call timeout.
Now that's
Princeton and Villanova, the 8th and 9th seeds. Miller, throw the home run ball down court, and it's over.
Number 2 seed, the number 4 seed, and number 5 seed all knocked out of the East Regional. Top seed North Carolina's got to be licking its chops. And Friday night, the Heels wasted little time making headway of their own in the NCAA tourney. A 101-66 blowout of Northeastern. Rick Fox and Herbert Davis got 16 apiece. Next up for the Heels is Villanova, which won on a Lance Miller J. As for the earlier upsets at the Carrier Dome on Friday, Penn State knocked out 4th seeded UCLA 74-69. The Nittany Lions making the most of their first tournament appearance in 26 years with their first tournament win in 36 years. Next up for Penn State is Eastern Michigan, which upset Mississippi State. The Southeastern Conference started the tournament with 5 teams, but only one's left. Yep, Wimp Sanderson's Crimson Tide, which blew out Murray State 89-79 at the Southeast Regional in Atlanta. It was never close. Robert Horry slammed home 21. Next for Alabama is Wake, which beat Tech. Earlier, Arkansas did the expected. The Hogs forced 32 turnovers along the way and now meet up with Arizona State, which put Rutgers to sleep. Best finish was at the West Regional in Tucson. Michigan State and Wisconsin Green Bay tied in the final seconds. But All-American Steve Smith canned the J. The Spartans win it 60-58 and now meet up with Utah, which was a 10-point winner. In the other half of the bracket, it'll be Georgetown against the top-ranked Rebels. The Hoyas got there by using their size advantage to beat Vanderbilt 70-60. Alonzo Mourning got 23. As for the Rebels, this was the story against Montana. UNLV made it 42 straight. At the Midwest Regional in Dayton, 16th-seeded Towson State gave it its best effort, but not enough talent to keep up with Ohio State as the Buckeyes win it 97-86. Jim Jackson got 24. Next for Ohio State is Georgia Tech, which surprisingly beat DePaul with ease. Earlier, St. John's fought off Northern Illinois to advance to round 2 against Texas, which dominated the backboards against St. Peter's.
Georgia Tech, they met tonight an 8-9 seeded game. These are supposed to be the tightest first-round games, and the last time these two teams met, it was a couple of years ago. The Yellow Jackets won the game at the buzzer on a 3. Let's go to Dayton, Ohio, the Midwest. All the attention every time Tech plays is on that young man, Kenny Anderson. First, Kenny with the offensive rebound in the paint and the putback. Then Kenny Anderson with a baseline move, and now the J. It's rhetorical, Joey. You can't stop this guy. Anderson here.
Jawing with Jim Shields. Shields likes to keep his hands on him. Hodge can't defocus right now. Got to concentrate on what this game is about. Do your talking after.
Shot clock at 15. Now down to 7. Garstarfin. Strickland. Foul on Conway. Strickland goes to the line. Again, a 41% free throw shooter, but he cans that one. The lead back to 6.
Clock runs down. They want to get fouled or get a good shot.
Macon takes the shot, and Strickland gets his 10th rebound. The put back, no. Off the back, Strickland with his 11th rebound.
And he's gone.
And then he gets called for the foul, and he's out of here. solid down the stretch at that free throw line, man.
And certainly the stability that he brings to this team.
And he's going for the three-table leap. He's going to get a standing ovation from Donald Hodge, the senior from Baton Rouge, Michael Harden. Well, let's see. There. Kilgore just did miss the line. 47 seconds to go. An end here. And Terry Connolly, the only senior on the ball club. For the Temple Owls, they will advance and play in the Meadowlands next weekend. Largest lead of the ball game now at 12. Here's Fleming. Nope. Harden.
The story of this game for Temple is the fact that they continue to play defense, just like John Chaney said. Their defense was constant, and it ultimately wore down the Richmond Spiders, took their game plan away.
3 of 6 from the line. Point edge. This is as large as it has been. Shields.
You got to root for them when they're playing as well as they are right now. For the second time in 4 years, John Chaney's Temple Owls are headed to the tournament Sweet 16 party, thanks in part to this afternoon's second-round tournament victory over Richmond Spiders.
Temple appeared well on their way to putting Richmond away early when Mark Macon's three-pointer put the Owls up by 10 in the opening half. But the Spiders spun themselves a new web and fortified it with the hot hand of number 31, Chris Fleming, who went 3 for 3 from three-point range in the first half that put the Spiders right back in it. And as a result, Temple took it to the locker room at the half, clinging to a slim 32-31 lead.
At halftime, he told us that, you know, we had to get out on Fleming more because he was the guy that, from the get-go of the game, that we had to get on.
The Owls then proceeded to open the second half with a 16-6 run as Vic Karstaffin's three made it a 48-37 Temple advantage. But back came the Spiders, and guess who? Number 31, Chris Fleming. 7 three-pointers on the day, this one cutting it to a 59-55 Temple lead.
It was wide open, and he was catching Jays with people in his face and when he was by himself. And if those are the type of shots he's going to make, then he has to make them.
Fleming was hot, and we wanted to get out on him and make the other players, you know, try to win the game, and he just shot a good game.
They mentioned Fleming was hot, so hot he hit 7 of those babies, and it looked like he was unconscious out there.
Yeah, he shot to the well, it was dry.
The Owls, however, made the necessary adjustments. They managed to pull away for the eventual 77-64 victory. And up next, the Oklahoma State Cowboys at the Meadowlands in the round of 16. Meanwhile, in the Southeast Regional, 3rd seed Indiana taking on FSU, and Bobby Knight, oh boy, was he frustrated early. Douglas Edwards, the jam, and Bobby says, "You're killing me, baby, you're killing me." Knight sends out the Graham, and it's answered, as in Pat Graham, who came off the bench for 13 points. Then it was Pat Graham to Greg Graham, no relation. Hoosiers advanced to the round of 16 with the 82-60 victory. Elsewhere,
Indiana Hoosiers, many believe, could be the team to pose problems for seemingly invincible UNLV. Though whether or not they'll meet is still up in the air, but in round 2 of the NCAA tourney, the Hoosiers smoked Florida State in the Southeast Regional matchup. Calbert Cheney had 24 as Indiana used a 21-1 second-half spurt to down Florida State 82-60. IU will play the Kansas Jayhawks next. Kansas advanced to the field of 16 by gunning down the Pitt Panthers. Terry Brown had 22 in KU's 77-66 win. To the Midwest, where the Connecticut Huskies advanced to the Sweet 16 with a 66-50 victory over Xavier. Chris Smith led the way with 20 as the Musketeers misfired on 20 of their first 24 shots. The Huskies will play Duke next in a rematch of last year's thrilling East Final, won by Duke 79-78. On Saturday, the Blue Devils throttled Iowa 85-70 behind 19 from Christian Leitner. To the West region, where Seton Hall advanced with a convincing 81-69 triumph over upstart Creighton. Terry DeHare was the hero with 28 as the Hall advanced to round 3 against Arizona. The Wildcats took care of BYU 76-61. Brian Williams threw down 24 for the U of A. And last but not least, we go to the East Regional, where Eddie Sutton's Oklahoma State Cowboys got the better of North Carolina State 73-64. Byron Houston had the big game with 24 points and 12 boards. The Cowboys will take on the Temple Owls in round 3. Temple beat the Richmond Spiders 73-64. Mark Macon faced the Owls with 20. To the NBA and those Chicago Bulls, who on Saturday won their 7th in a
Bruce Parkhill elects not to call the timeout. They're just going to play.
Deggetts guarded closely by Callis. Off to James Barnes.
This is great defensive effort by Eastern Michigan.
Marcus Kennedy doing the guarding on him. Stolen by the Hurons. 8 seconds left. Timeout, Eastern Michigan. Their last 6.6 remaining to play. Starters on the floor for both teams.
You don't want to foul if you're Penn State.
Charles Thomas, one of the Thomas twins, lets it fly, and it's long, and time has expired. We'll have overtime.
Team, Eastern Michigan smaller. Lewis only about 6'5". Man-to-man defense. Look for Penn State to put the ball in the hands of James Barnes against Hallis if they can.
James Barnes.
Deggetts with a 4-inch height advantage inside against Lewis.
Ron Hayes outside for Money Brown. James Barnes backing in against Hallis. Basket counts.
And that's 5 on Corey Hallis.
And Corey Hallis. Barnes, meanwhile, has Penn State on top by 1.
Want to get that 2, cut the lead to 1, and leave yourself enough time to get the ball back. This is great defense.
Neely all over him. Money Brown driving, banks it nicely. Penn State calls a timeout. Hurons lead by 1. 1:12 to go in overtime. Makes the first.
Utah tied with Michigan State at 64.
That's a pick where what he hopes to happen is Stevens steps out and Grant will pop back and get the ball if Stevens tries to help.
Dixon for 3.
He can get this one off.
Steve Smith at half court throws it up, and we go to overtime.
This one.
Out of the Mid-America Conference, missed the second.
Doesn't. Here comes Penn State with a tie. A 3 to tie it in overtime.
Freddie Barnes for 3. No. Rebound by the Hurons.
Traveling, and it gets back to Penn State.
Thomas fell down with the ball. A travel is called. Penn State's going to get it back with 1 point shot in this situation.
Freddie Barnes lets it fly. It's no good. It is over.
Eastern Michigan into the Sweet 16 for the first time in school history. Meanwhile, in Dayton, it's tightened between St. John's and Texas. A St. John's 6-point lead with about 53 seconds remaining in that one. So Eastern Michigan wins it in overtime, moves to the Sweet 16. Next will be a game against North Carolina at the Meadowlands on Friday. And in the overtime, Michigan State strikes first against Utah.
Steve back in it with 3-point shooting, only 5 of 17 from that range. Joey Wright with 30 points, can't get the drop. And scrolling. And Tom Penders has been using the fouls to try to get back in as well. Again, Texas with all afternoon.
The man never stops. Tommy put the press on and got them a little more active. And, of course, to give away fouls, as you noted, gave them an opportunity as St. John's missed a few. But right now, St. John's in position, not wanting to foul.
At the start of overtime in Tucson, Jimmy Soto hit a 3 for Utah, but right back came Steve Smith with a 3 of his own. And the game
machine, they could very well go all the way. Today, they overwhelmed Villanova in what turned out to be the season finale for Rollie Massimino's Wildcats up in Syracuse. Second-round action. Big guy for Carolina, George Lynch, and they have so many people who can contribute. Lynch inside, he scored 19 points for Dean Smith. Hubert Davis on the outside, who happens to be Walter Davis's nephew, and they were up by 12 over the Cats at the half. Second half, Lloyd Mumford came off the bench and got some good minutes. This is a 3-pointer. Nova still down by 12. Mumford this time doesn't shoot, feeds Lance Miller, and they're within 7. They made their run, but they ran out of gas. George Lynch puts Carolina back up by 14 late second half. They win it by 15, eliminating Villanova from the NCAA tournament. Now, Channel 10's Al Meltzer in Syracuse following the Wildcats through the tournament has more from the Carrier Dome.
The Wildcats lose by 15 to the Tar Heels. But for Rollie Massimino, wasn't a bad year.
I'm very proud of them. I'm not upset. I'm a little disappointed. I thought we had a terrific run the last 3.5 weeks, and that's all that counts in my eye. I'm happy. As long as I'm happy, Big Al, that's all that counts.
All right, now the last thing is, what do you think of Carolina's chances of going all the way?
Oh, they're definitely good enough to win the whole thing. You know, I think it's going to be tough to beat Las Vegas, but they're certainly good enough to win this whole tournament.
Not only are they athletic and big, but I think they're well coached, well disciplined, and you know, when you got smart players who are that athletic and big, you know, it's really tough to beat them.
So Villanova goes home, and now it's up to the Temple Owls. They'll go on to the Meadowlands. This is Al Meltzer, Channel 10 Sports in Syracuse.
All right, Al, so the Wildcats finished with a record of 17-15. Now, when Penn State and Eastern Michigan met in their second-round game today, one thing was certain. The winner would be the lowest seed still alive in the tournament. The Hurons seeded 12th, the Lions 13th. Let's go back to Syracuse, where Joe Paterno was in attendance watching the basketballers take it on against Eastern Michigan. First half, C.J. Johnson of Penn State inside, and they're up by 5, in control early. But Eastern Michigan would come back. Marcus Kennedy finished with 21 points. He was their big guy, and he did foul out in overtime, but before Kennedy left, he did his damage. Following the Neely block, it is Kennedy on the other end, converting the basket, and Eastern Michigan defeats Penn State 71-68 in overtime. So Eastern Michigan at number 12, the lowest seed still alive in the tournament. John Thompson's Hoyas against the top team in the tournament, UNLV out west. Second half, Larry Johnson slams the Rebels to a 15-point lead. Larry had 20 points. But Dikembe Mutombo helped Georgetown chip away, and this followed by Mutombo gets the Hoyas within 8 points. They played them tough today. Charles Harrison, baseline jumper, 46-42, Hoyas within 4. And Lois couldn't stand it. Lois Tarkanian, the Sharks' wife. Not to worry, Lois. Anderson Hunt hit for 14. And UNLV defeated Georgetown by 8. Check
Paul Runnels, CNN Headline Sports. Georgetown was supposed to give UNLV a stiff test in the second round of the NCAA tournament, but the Rebels had a different idea. Vegas used a 13-0 run in the first half to rub out the Hoyas 62-54. That's the 43rd straight win for Sharks Company. Up next, Utah. The Utes, an 85-84 double overtime winner against Michigan State. Josh Grant coming through in the clutch with a season-high 29 points. In the Midwest, St. John's used the hot hand of Billy Singleton and Malik Sealy to lasso the Longhorns 84-76. Louis' club takes on Ohio State in the next round. The Buckeyes surviving a late run by the Yellow Jackets, holding on for a 65-61 win over Georgia Tech. To the southeast, Arkansas jumped out to a 12-0 lead on Arizona State, then held on for a 97-90 win. The Hogs are 33-3 and play a red-hot Alabama team next. The Tide sent Wake Forest packing 96-88. 5 players in double figures for the Tide. In the East, it will be North Carolina and Eastern Michigan. Yes, Eastern Michigan. They beat Penn State 71-68 in overtime for their first trip ever to the Sweet 16. On the flip side, North Carolina's made it 11 years in a row. The Heels rolling over Villanova 84-69 to advance to the Meadowlands. A shocker in the NBA.
Clear because they finally hung Wilt Chamberlain's number 13 in the Spectrum rafters.
When you look up there at that number 13 in days and weeks and years to come, I don't want you to think of it as a guy who garnished a lot of rebounds and a lot of points. I want you to think of it as a guy who has a lot of friends. I'm going to count you guys all among them. Thank you very kindly.
And that was beautifully said by Wilt the Stilt today, and it was a beautiful evening with a packed house and a Hall of Fame bevy of friends wishing him well. Hey, it was a full day for the Stilt. Began early this morning at his old launching pad over Brook High, where he showed today's team how it's done, and then showed off a very special gift from the guys, a Letterman jacket from the Brook and the current team over there. That was very nice. And then they had to
get this one. I need to get that one.
Zinnig by Jay Schwade for her 4 3/8 grip. So the grips are pretty thin.
She's testing prototype rackets right now, though.
She is. Sabatini has drawn first blood in the second set. 2-1 she leads, and she won the first by 6-3.
Try to end it early. she is again. In the beginning of the...
It happened too. This is an opportunity here at love 30 for Sabatini to get a second break. She had 2 breaks to serve in the first set, then lost 1 back to Garrison. 1 at 6-3. Encourage you to watch SportsCenter tonight. We'll have the first set against Thomas Corbanel of Spain in a tiebreaker.
And it's match point over there with Sanchez and Michael Chang. Sanchez serving for the match.
That's it. Gabriela Sabatini is through to the semi-final of the Lipton Players Championship for this year, and she'll play the winner of Steffi Graf and Maliva Frenier, who will play in the other quarterfinal match in their section of the draw. So in straight sets, Gabriela Sabatini 6-3, 6-2 over Zina Garrison. On court number 1, they're still locked in it. Wait a second, what is this?
Tabor, who made that call? Did you make the overrule? She said, yes, I saw the ball good. It's still break point. They replay the point.
Love second set. Black College will be back.
Well, 12 months ago.
She beat her, Sabatini beat Graf the US Open final in straight sets, tiebreaker in the second set. Then she lost the next 2 times they played, tiebreaker, and since then it's been all Sabatini.
She didn't really have much to say about the first set, though, did she? Because Graf just put together a perfect set, very few in net.
That just showed the tremendous fighting heart of Sabatini, not only her technique, but I think the match also showed us, they took us a tour through the engine room of Steffi Graf's mind, where she is right now. And I'll tell you what, four straight wins for Sabatini now.
Is through to the final of the Lipton for this year. And when we come back, the fiery one, Fred Stolle, we'll talk to her.
This effort to come back from there. What were your thoughts at the end of the first set, losing at 6-love?
Well, I think she played very good first set. I was playing a little short, and then I just, tried to play a little bit deeper and just try to get into the game again.
You're pretty much
very more comfortable.
Well, you've beaten Steffi.
And then Oklahoma State showing stress on the offensive end. Mark Macon has come up big here all game long, and even more so in overtime. Pretty good ball handlers on the floor. And Kilgore Macon at the start, but down to 9 on the shot clock. And Kilgore with the shot. 14 points for Mick Kilgore, and all the points in overtime scored by Temple. Oh, John was jumping and fussing. He just doesn't want to lose. His ski guy, the jacket almost came off. What a step up in his level of play in overtime. And he had played pretty well in regulation. And ever the leader, still talking to his teammates what to do in the final 119. Every good player should have this attitude. Always within himself, never expressing in any way. Hart fouled from behind. And Hart will go to the free throw line as Temple
has an 11-point lead.
He wants the intentional. He's begging right to the end. Well,
the amount of $1,000 will be donated to each college's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. So Temple, the 10th seed here in the East region, will move on to meet North Carolina in the regional final on Sunday.
A nice gesture here by Eddie, getting everybody in as Dennis Burbank nails that deep one.
The ball is hit. You feel the touch tonight. The rhythm in your shot. And your step is light. The crowd goes wild. This much is known. Win another game. You be on the phone. To that one shining moment. You reach for the sky. One shining moment. You knew.
Absolute pandemonium. You think they'd won the national championship? It may as well have been, because as soon as they got out of that overtime, the students ran out of the building, ran out into the street, and this area hasn't been the same since. This has been going on for, I don't know, whenever the game ended. They've been out here doing this. They've got their "We Want UNLV" signs. They're cheering. We've been dashed with alcoholic beverages. They are absolutely elated.
That's a great crowd.
That's
a great crowd at Temple University. Good luck, Arthur.
Thank you, Larry J. I'm gonna need it.
Good luck. Have a great time getting back.
Have to stay up there all night just to remain safe.
I haven't seen that since Wildcat Fever back in 1985 in Villanova.
We may have a parade on the horizon.
Well, we'll see.
I don't want to speak
They
too
got to
soon.
feel good about getting this far. This is great.
The Final Eight. Temple came into tonight's game with Oklahoma State knowing a win would put them into the Elite Eight. It's big-time company. Only 7 other teams are there right now. Let's take it to the Meadowlands Arena, where Mark Macon had a big first half. Actually played a solid game after the Steel League gets the slam. Temple was riding the Cowboys, but Corey Williams kept the Cowboys in it. He had 3 straight three-pointers, finished with 17, but Cheney's team led it 36-30 at the half. Second half, Corey Williams ties it at 53 late in the game.
Corey Williams for 3.
And we go into overtime. Eddie Sutton wanted a 3-point shot. It was only 2, Eddie. In overtime, Temple scored the game's first 6 points. Macon was on fire. Kilgore would finish with 17. Macon scored 8 of his 26 in overtime before fouling out with just over a minute to play. And when it was all over, Temple had a 72-63 win over Oklahoma State. Just happened to rout another of its opponents. Took on Eastern Michigan, really no contest. Hubert Davis of Carolina hit all 5 of his 3-point shots. He had 18. The Hurons were led by Carl Thomas, who goes up high here. He finished with a career-high 27, but Pete Chook had matched Davis with 18. North Carolina won it by 26. As I said, no contest. To the Midwest we go, where St. John's eliminated the Buckeyes. Didn't like Ohio State coming to this one, and this is why. They were flat. Malik Sealy scored 22. Robert Wardan of St. John's with 21. And St. John's wins it 91-74 as Lou's crew now looks ahead to Duke. So it'll be St. John's and Duke in the Midwest Championship. Thomas Hill with some big baskets for Duke's. Mike Krzyzewski. Christian Leitner always consistent. And Duke wins it easily, 81-67. So Duke now just 1 win away from its 4th.
Half of the Final Four is set. 3rd-seeded Kansas, surprising top-seeded Arkansas in the Southeast Regional, 93-81. The Jayhawks came roaring back from a 12-point halftime deficit to make it to their 3rd Final Four in the last 6 years. Alonzo Jamison leading the charge with 26 for KU. This sets up a potential matchup between Roy Williams and Dean Smith. Of course, Carolina has to get by Temple in order for that to happen. In the West, UNLV is heading back to the Final Four. The Rebels led Seton Hall by 3 at the half, but turned it on in the final 20 minutes and go on to a 77-65 win over the upset-minded Pirates to capture the West Regionals. Larry Johnson keyed the second-half surge, finishing with 30. That's Vegas's 45th straight win, dating back to last season. In the
For Temple at guard, a 6'5" senior from Saginaw, Michigan, number 12, Mark Macon. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'4" junior from Burke, Virginia, number 40, Hubert Davis.
For the tip-off between the 10th seed, Temple, and the number 1 seed, North Carolina, after this.
Come up for you.
I was about to mention, and let's not forget Rick Fox.
And here's an ideal trap. See how they step into it?
Karstarkin to Kilgore. First basket of the afternoon for Mick Kilgore. Lynch, bread and butter moves inside. Blocked by Hodge, the 7-footer. Macon for 3. Rice. Kilgore with the rebound. Number 4, here comes Temple.
Yes.
Up to Strick.
Around that hoop, and trying that all your life, haven't you? As a youngster in the game?
A good feeling for Davis. He's got 17, and Carolina's on top 61-53. Strickland, got to make that. Hodge with the rebound. And score. He collects himself nicely.
He does. He really, just great attention. Look at that. Coordination.
No one slammed on you.
Jackie Jackson, for one of the old Globies did.
And Carolina nursing a 5-point lead with 4:56 remaining.
They've started to go perimeter now. Hodge not as involved. Starpin, Kilgore, and Macon will touch it most of the time.
Kilgore scores and is fouled.
Kilgore.
Well, John Chaney's players well schooled in terms of using what we call Chilcutt.
Tough angle.
Lynch.
Rebounding. The big concern going in.
8 points, 7 rebounds for George Lynch.
Easy now, don't hold it.
When you look at Temple, the one thing they have going, they have 3 guards on the floor, and Kilgore, they all can handle, go to the hole, but they also then have...
Percentage from the first half. Temple has the ball, shot clock under 15. Under 10 on the shot clock. And a timeout called by Temple.
Tough trap.
Kilgore for 3, and he gets it. Down to a 2-point ball game with 1:20 remaining. And a foul is called on Karstarkin. 20 seconds left.
They only needed 2 because they need 2 possessions, JB.
Macon for 3. And again, and he gets it with 8.6 seconds remaining. A 1-point ball game.
Macon as well.
A 3-point lead. Ball in the hands of Macon. Macon for 3, on target, and it's over. And Carolina advances to the Final Four.
All right, James.
How about 14? Yep. How about it? With style.
Well, Grant Hill having all kinds of problems. You can see when a young player without experience gets down on his shooting, the rest of his game tends to go as well. And he has got to get himself mentally back into it.
Early short. Kubek on the follow. Rebound right in his hands, and he puts it back in.
Duke a little too early for his dunk.
His first 2 points. Buchanan with confidence now on the shot.
Beautiful offensive move by Jason because he had...
And Coach K and Bobby Hurley.
The ball is hit. You feel the touch tonight. The rhythm in your shot. And your step is light. The crowd goes wild. This much is known. Win another game. You be almost home. To that one shining moment. You reach for the sky. One shining moment.
North Carolina.
The music stopped for the Owls, and the numbers stopped at 8. They're not going to get to the Final Four, but they gave it one heck of a try. Cinderella lost her slippers, 75-72 to North Carolina.
What I said to the players afterwards is that everything isn't going to be fair in this life, I think. But they have a responsibility as people to make things right. And they ought to take from this experience that this perhaps is one of the last times that you're going to be in an organization where there are a bunch of men who work for one common goal. Most of us will have to go on through life and fight off wars by ourselves. This is the last ditch.
It was a great season. You know, I'm going to, like Mark was telling us, Mark helped the younger guys and, you know, showed us what it was like because he's been here. Now I'm going to, the younger guys, after me, I'm going to tell them, if we get to this point again, I know how it is, and I'm going to show them the way.
And then when did it set in finally that this was the last game of the tournament, last game of the season, and last game period?
It hasn't. You know, the game is over, but not life. But these guys have many more years to go upon, and that's the reason I play.
And so it comes full circle. In '88, the Owls season ended here, and it ends here in '91. But it was a heck of a run. Al Meltzer, Channel 10 Sports.
All right, Al, thank you very much. For the fourth St. John's, Duke put on a clinic. Bobby Hurley was the doctor. He scored 13 of his 20 in the first half. For St. John's, Malik Sealy had a slow first half, but did finish with 19 points. Not enough, though, because Duke is so loaded, a la Carolina. Leitner loose inside, no question about it. And when Duke needed a thrill, it went to this guy, freshman Grant Hill. Duke wins it by 17. They're headed to play UNLV.
Okay, mostly sunny tomorrow and 58, then mostly sunny 63.
Sunny now for sports.
The Temple Owls are back in town. This is video from earlier tonight in North Philadelphia, where the Temple Owls returned to campus from the Meadowlands, where just a few hours before their season ended with a 3-point loss to North Carolina in the NCAA tournament.
My playing was for these younger guys so they can give back and maybe take that step or that kick to knock that door down. You know, we tried to do it today, and we gave our best effort.
No question.
But it just didn't happen. But the next team that comes along is gonna just ram that door down.
Remember Bill Bradley in the NCAA right now, a true All-American, using the kiss and being so aggressive, taking it to the Tar Heels.
4 years went by so quickly. Where did it go?
It didn't go anywhere. It stayed right in the hearts of myself and Coach and all the players that came through here.
You enjoyed your 4 years, sir.
I love them. I wouldn't change them for the world.
Mark Macon carried 6 for 29 in '88 in that game here when they got knocked off by Duke all of his career. His last game, and he proved his point, didn't he? Al Meltzer, Channel 10 Sports.
31 points for Mark Macon. He leaves as Temple's all-time leading scorer, but to his head coach, Mark Macon.
One of the biggest upsets in Final Four history. As Duke and top-ranked, seemingly invincible UNLV met at the Hoosier Dome. Last year, the Rebs routed the Blue Devils by 30 in the finals. Saturday's game was a lot different. Christian Leitner hit for 28, including 2 free throws in the waning seconds, and a stingy Duke D prevented the Rebs from getting off a clean shot at the end. A shocker. Duke 79, UNLV 77, ending UNLV's 45-game winning streak and its shot at a second straight championship. Sweet revenge for Duke and a berth in the finals, where they'll meet the Kansas Jayhawks for the national title on Monday night. Earlier, Kansas beat North Carolina 79-73 to advance to the championship tilt. Mark Randall scored 16 and pulled down 11 for KU, which makes it to the Final Two for the first time since 1988, the year they won it all. Carolina head coach Dean Smith was ejected after his second technical foul. It was a huge triumph for Coach Smith's former understudy Roy Williams, who took his 10 years as an assistant at UNC and put it to good use.
At the women's is the NCAA national champion. The Blue Devils got past Kansas 72-65 to capture their first title ever. Duke set the stage early when Bobby Hurley fed Grant Hill with a perfect pass. The Blue Devils led this one wire to wire. Christian Leitner came up big once again. He had 18, including 12 of 12 from the free throw line. Perhaps the unsung hero, Billy McCaffrey, who came off the bench and pumped in 16. Mike Krzyzewski finally reaches the pinnacle of his profession.
It's never been a monkey on my back, all right? I mean, so, you know, I always try to keep it in perspective. I'm just really happy for my team. Did you see their faces, you know, when you won? And geez, I felt so good. I looked at my kids, my girls, my 3 daughters, and see them crying and all that, and that makes me feel good. So it's the way it is. I hope we do it again. Wonder when we'll do it again. Jesus Christ.
Monday Night Mayhem from the WLAF. Lee Soltz never had to take hits like that at Temple. Frankfurt came a long way for this game against San Antonio, but it was worth it. Mike Perez connecting with Cedric Gordon out of Ferris State for 36 yards for the only touchdown of the game. The Galaxy a 10-3 winner over the
Headline Express had it revved up. At Baltimore, Nolan Ryan gave up just 2 hits in 7 innings while fanning 9 and got plenty of help on the offensive end as Texas blew out the Orioles 15-3 for Ryan's 303rd career win and the Rangers' first of the season. Gary Stars eliminated the Blackhawks in 6 with a 3-1 win Sunday night. This after Chicago won the President's Cup with the most regular season points. The Blues got the shutout to force a Game 7 by winning. The Kings wrap up their first-round series with the Canucks. And at the Northlands Coliseum, the Flames tied up the Oilers at 3 games each with a 2-1 overtime win. Theo Fleury came through at the game winner. Bob Pacello, CNN headline.
Like Kiss, Easy, and Magic. And if you like rap and top 40, there's Q and Eagle. Well, now there's a radio station for the rest of us. You must be my lucky star. The new Star 104.5, superstars of the 80s and 90s. No soft oldies, no kid stuff, just great music. Finally, somebody got it right. Star 104.5, superstars of the 80s and 90s. Listen.
If you're a Penguins fan, Frank Pietrangelo stopped 27 shots. Yuri Hrdina found the net twice. Paul Coffey returned early from an eye injury to score, and Mario Lemieux also lit the lamp as Pittsburgh downed the Devils 4-zip in the 7th and decisive game of their Patrick semifinal series. Next up, Washington. Just the over in Montreal. First stop, the Cap Center in the Patrick final, where the divisional champion Penguins assumed a 2-1 lead in the best of 7. Mario Lemieux had a goal and an assist in the 3-1 Pittsburgh victory. Tom Barrasso stopped 26 of 27 Washington shots and also added an assist. To the Forum in the Adams final and the resumption of perhaps the best rivalry in hockey between Boston and Montreal in Game 3 went to the Beantowners. Ken Hodge Jr. lit the lamp with just over a minute to play to propel Boston to the 3-2 triumph. The Bruins lead the best of 7, 2-1. Scored 25, Charles Barkley 19 as Philadelphia went into Milwaukee and took Game 1 from the Bucks 99-90. NHL playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins captured the Patrick Division final 4-1 over Washington. Joe Mullen had a goal and an assist in the Penn series clinching 4-1 victory. First time in 24-year history of the franchise they've made it to the Stanley Cup semifinals.
9-6, but the highlight of this high-scoring affair was a defensive play. Philadelphia turning the triple play. Tony Gwynn shot the second, snared by Randy Reddy, who stepped on second and went to first to complete their first triple play in 23 years. With a 4-3 overtime win at Northlands. Craig McTavish scored with just over 3 minutes. The North Stars edged St. Louis 3-2 to take that series 4-2. Bobby Smith scored twice.
All made quick work of the Bucks. The final 121-100 as Barkley got 30. Philly wins this series in 3 and next faces the Bulls. In Atlanta, the world champion
Nolan. 44-year-old Nolan Ryan sent 16 Blue Jays back to the bench on strikeouts in a 3-zip topping of Toronto. while recording an unprecedented 7